So.
Okay.
Is that the one you're looking at the QR code? Is that?
I was looking for something that, okay. Oh, yes, that's it. Thank you. Okay.
Is that the one you're looking at the QR code? It's like,
Okay, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Close that door too, please. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Willie Lightfoot, City Councilman, Chair of Public Safety and Chairman of Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition. Welcome each and every one of you to our July monthly meeting. Hello, Reverend Cox. We have a few folks here. We will just ask for any new members in a minute. We'll ask to introduce themselves. But I want to just take a moment of silence. We have had quite a few shootings, and we had some at MLK Park. We had a couple of homicides since our last meeting. And I also want us to be in thinking of the family and in prayer for the officer in Webster, who I believe was in Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken, who was murdered due to gun violence. And of course, we saw just recently our former president was a victim to gun violence as well. And I also want us to be keeping the 3-year-old young child that was hit and run on Mount Reed Boulevard that is fighting for his life still in the hospital. So I want us to keep all of those things in our prayers as we have a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Once again, for those who are just logging on, we are joined here. We have a few individuals here with us today, and Mr. Agent Corinne couldn't be with us, but he did send a representative today. We do have Mr. Sean Crumhole from ATF with us. Reverend Cox is in the building. Lewis is here. Dassey is here, and myself. Those are the people that are here in person. Is there anybody online or on Zoom, if you will, who is your first time attending a Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition meeting? I would ask if you would unmute. Please identify yourself and the organization or who you represent, and just introduce yourself, please. If this is your first.
Master Glover.
Yes, I'm Joseph Becker.
Hold on one second. Let's start.
Subscription plans for as long.
Master Glover, Rise Up Rochester, outreach worker.
Welcome, Master. Next.
I'm Joseph Becker. I represent the Digital Health Navigators. We're in our second year. It's a partnership between SUNY Attain, U of R, Medicine, and GIS Scholars, and they are looking at dealing with health portals, increasing their Microsoft skills, and taking a closer look at crime around their safe places in their homes.
Wonderful. Welcome. Anyone else? First time visitor to,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Anthony Freeman. I'm an ADA at the District Attorney's Office. I'm assigned to the non-fatal shooting team, the non-fatal shooting investigations initiative that began last July and has continued this year. This is my first meeting. It's nice to meet all of you.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you here with us, sir. As we can see, Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition partners are really broadening in the spectrum of the individuals who are at this table. And we really appreciate that. And we're looking forward to some of the great initiatives and partnerships that come as a result of the collective information that we receive from one another. Welcome, sir. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Dr. Rachel McGinnis. I work for Monroe County for Research Strategy and Development. We report to Adam Bello and we focus on 2 initiatives. One is substance use disorder and the other is, of course, community violence. It's my first meeting and I'm really excited to be here. So thank you.
Wonderful. Welcome. So as I'm listening, I'm looking at ATF. We got the state, we got the ADA's office, the county. and many other partners that work in the space of violence and gun violence within our community. Once again, as our trees and our branches of our of this work begins to extend and our roots begin to get deeper, we're really encouraged about how the impact that we can make in curbing this continual curbing the downside of this violence within our community. So welcome, 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 Rachel. Anyone else? Okay, all right. Well, hopefully, does everyone see the agenda in your chat? You should have an agenda in your chat, and we will follow that agenda accordingly. So at this time, we'll start with Victor Saunders, the Mayor's Advisor for Violent Prevention.
Good evening, everyone. How you doing? Having some difficulties. Must be the weather.
Yeah, Vic, a lot of people have. So what I would say, if you start chopping up, Vic, then if you don't want to show your screen, it's probably easier that way. But we can hear you pretty good here, sir. And go ahead. You can go ahead with your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, great. It's been a while since we got together. Basically, I'm glad to hear that we have the people online for the different research and non-fatal shootings. As far as the work that we're doing around that, we're working with the people from URMC through the Health Systems and Community-Based Violence Prevention Program to pay closer attention to the non-fatal shootings. Our collaboration has expanded beyond the work we're doing with the hospital-based intervention program. Currently, the city, we are looking at our work with the hospital-based intervention program, considering we were one of the founders of that program in 2009. And we want to improve the services that we currently have, considering we have more going on right now within our Department of Rec and Human Services and around crisis response and things of that nature. So we definitely want to pay closer attention to individuals that have survived gunshot wounds and offer more support to them and their families. We recently got funding from the Crime Survivors March on Washington. We're going to have a delegation from Rochester going down to Washington. I believe it's in September. Representatives from Rise Up Rochester, Rock the Peace, and others will go down. And basically, we want to bring more light to what victims of gunshot wounds have to go through, well beyond the actual incident itself, as well as the trauma that families go through in dealing with that. A lot of people don't think beyond the gunshot, and that's where some of the most impactful work takes place. We are also meeting with the judge from the Trauma-Informed Family Court to expand services and alternatives to young people that are coming through that particular court system. We are in contact with Villa of Hope and met with Mr. LeVar Sanders, director out there, to work with young people who have been adjudicated and coming out of Monroe County Children's Center on diversion or probation, in hopes that we can help them change their mindset and change their life trajectory through the choices that they make. We want to increase support for them as well as their families. One thing we've always recognized, that a lot of these young people are being raised by grandparents, not just parents. And we can understand how they can be run down over a period of time, having to deal with the police coming to the home, schools calling, all kinds of stuff like that. So we want to definitely do all we can to assist them in that way. I myself was lucky enough to go join individuals from the White House Office of Violence Prevention a couple of weeks ago in DC around the work that's being taken place nationwide, dealing with the issue of gun violence and safe gun ownership. There's a lot of good work taking place nationally through the Offices of Violence Prevention. I think there's over 38 Offices of Violence Prevention currently within the country. And just within a year and a half ago, we only had 12 or 13. So it's expanding tremendously. The work that we're doing is being recognized by the White House Office of Violence Prevention, and the work that we're doing with our Advanced Peace model Pathways to Peace, and the reentry services. So we're glad to hear that. Also, the statewide coalition that we have recently just started with Governor Hochul's Director of Gun Violence Prevention, Kayleana Thomas, now includes Syracuse, Buffalo, and Albany just opened their new Office of Violence Prevention. And we will be having a conference call with them this week to assist them in putting together some of the different things that they want to do and avoid some of the pitfalls that can happen sometimes when you're starting a brand new department. So that's where we are currently. A lot of good work taking place. We also have finalized the Rochester Peace Collective 2.0. That's the $700,000 that we are utilizing funding within the community to assist more community-based organizations to add to the 19 vendors that we funded out of the $5 million American Rescue Plan Act funding that we received from the government as well. So a lot going on. The ambassador program through the opioid program that's working out of the Father Tracy Center is up and running in earnest. And our next site will be Jefferson Avenue from Magnolia to Main Street. And those ambassadors will be working to keep those areas clean of drug paraphernalia and debris, meeting with individuals who are in the throes of drug addiction in hopes of offering support and services to those people and their families. And right now, it's just a lot of really good work taking place.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Saunders? Was there a timeline, Mr. Saunders, on the Jefferson Avenue Ambassadors Program for start time?
No, we don't have the start time. We just finished putting together, we're finalizing our steering committee currently. And I think we're in the final phase of putting together the steering committee. And Jefferson Avenue hopefully will be started by midsummer, I would hope.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to move over to RPD, Captain Murrah.
Good evening, everybody. I have a boatload of information to relay. Last month, we received a request, or I received a request to get a little bit more data. I've been able to reach out to, I think, no less than 3 other agencies to assist with compiling all the data. So I'm going to try and get through it fairly quickly, take a couple questions, and everything that I have will be sent forward in an email, so everyone will receive it as well in the event that I miss something. But for the month of June, we had 32 handguns, 4 long guns. 8 of the handguns were ghost guns. 1 of the long guns was a ghost gun. And that's what was taken in for June, which is down significantly from last year for that particular month. And we've seen a decrease in shootings as well. As far as totals so far this year, this was at the end of June, 257 handguns, 96 long guns, 37 total ghost guns for a grand total of 390. We're somewhere around 430 right now. So we've gotten approximately 30 to 40 more guns in the last 2 weeks. One of the requests that I had from last meeting was typically I'll give the disposition of the arrestees when they're first arrested and arraigned. I was asked if I could get the information on race, sex, and age. So with the assistance of a bunch of different folks, I was able to come up with most of that for the arrestees from June. So out of all the arrestees in June, we had 15 were white, 43 were black, 2 were unknown. The ages range from 14 years old all the way to 52. And out of all of the arrestees, 8 were female. So those are the numbers for that. I was also asked for the residences of all of the arrestees. You'll see that in the email. It's difficult for me to break it down and go, I'd have to go basically by each individual. I do have them listed. I just don't want to take up a bunch of time. So you'll see them in the email. The vast majority are City of Rochester residents. However, we have some folks from a few from Greece, a few from Irondequoit, one out of state, one from East Rochester, and I think one from Brighton. And when we get to the dispositions of the 48 criminal possession of weapon arraignments in Monroe County last month, 9 individuals were held without bail. 29 individuals had cash, bond, or bail set of $5,000 or less, and 10 individuals were released with non-monetary conditions. So that was the dispositions pending trial. And the last piece of data that I have for you is something that I generally don't have. We get this randomly because it's an outside vendor, but I have the ShotSpotter information for June. So last month we had a total of 160 ShotSpotter activations, which compared to the 227 from June of 23 was a 29.52% decrease. So we're absolutely having an impact on the amount of guns that were taken off the street and the amount of shootings. It's been a steady decrease in shootings and bullets to body incidents. Obviously, any single one is too many, but it's been a decrease. So all the work that we're doing, both with our department, all of our partner agencies, and specifically with this group in general, is definitely having a good effect, a positive effect on our community. So that's what I have for data. And again, you'll get more once I send the email, but that's all I can give you over the Zoom call.
So, Captain, thank you, Captain Murrow. What I would ask, and thank you so much for also providing, because from our partners and the different ones that we have attending our meetings, our members, we've been asking for a lot of information. And I would ask for you, Captain Murrow, how often is this information that you're providing? Is that something you're going to be providing monthly?
Yes, sir. That's correct. And the only other thing I'd like to say is, as I've mentioned previously, the gun-involved violence elimination grant that we get from the Department of Justice is huge for the Rochester area. The City of Rochester gets the vast majority of that amount of that money that comes in, and we use that specifically, all of that money, to combat gun violence. And I believe it's Mr. Freeman is with the DA's non-fatal shooting program. Part of that give funding that we get for the City of Rochester, we utilize for non-fatal shooting investigations, which allows us the ability to put the same resources in non-fatal shootings that we historically had put towards homicides, which gives us a much higher clearance rate and results in more arrests and more guns off the street. So that give funding is crucial to the City of Rochester's efforts. And I just wanted to say thank you to City Council for passing that this year again.
I was going to say that just came before our public safety docket, and that was passed and put forward. And also, if I recall, the first solution action plan that the Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition did back in 2018, I believe, that was one of the recommendations that we first made, because we had an 89.9% clearance rate for homicides, but we had a very low clearance rate for shootings. And I think it was in the research that we had done with another city, I can't remember who it was at the time. One of the recommendations we made in 2018 was that we start treating our shootings with the same investigation resources that we were treating our homicides with. right?
That that's accurate, sir.
Yeah,
And also for the DA's office as well, their non-fatal shooting program is also funded by the GIVE grant, the same GIVE grant that City Council just
Yeah.
voted in.
yes, yes. So not to, but I think it's important to, because I appreciate the fact that you acknowledge the coalition, the work that we're doing collectively, because it takes all of us and all of our ideas and all of our solutions, all of our work. No one person, no one program, no one initiative is the cure-all for all of the violence that we're having, but collectively. And that's what this whole coalition was all about: sharing information, collective ideas, collective action planning, and strategic outlooks on looking at how, we throwing everything but the kitchen sink at this issue and this problem, because literally that's what it's going to take. And it's good to hear we're doing a decrease. However, my philosophy, one homicide, one shooting is way too many. So until we have zero, we're going to keep, chugging along. But I'm grateful that we're going in the right direction, Captain. And I thank you for all of this information. And I'm sure that all of our partners, the information that we're sharing collectively, one thing about the coalition, we're not hiding any information from anybody. Like, everybody gets the same information. Everybody gets all of the same information, all of the same stuff. We're not working outside of the rest of the group. We're working in conjunction with everyone. So whatever information that we have, you'll have. Whatever information that we can share with you, that we can invite you to be a part of, you will be a part of. Because we believe in working collectively and with everybody. Okay, so that's very important for us to be transparent, open, and working in a way that we're working collectively with the rest of the partners. So thank you. Does anybody have any questions? I can take 1 or 2 questions for Captain Murray.
I have.
Yes, sir.
Captain, thank you for the wonderful report. But it seems as though you've confiscated more ghost guns this month than before. And is there any kind of trace with or any kind of connection with the ghost guns that you have confiscated this month?
So I don't know that there's a trend regarding the amount that we've confiscated this month, but I can tell you that we did a search warrant within the last 3 weeks on a location in the city and a separate location outside of the city where somebody was manufacturing ghost guns, and we made an arrest on that. And you'll get more information on that down the road. And Councilman, let me say one more thing, if I could.
Sure.
As you know, I've been with the Rock Against Gun Violence right from the very beginning, and I wanted to say thank you to the entire coalition, everybody that's here today, even the folks that it's their first time in. The police department can't do our work without everybody's help, and the work that everybody on this call does and at this meeting. And I'll throw off a few names real quick: Wanda Ridgway, Aaliyah Henton, Vic Saunders, everybody right down the line, Tony. Everybody does all kinds of work behind the scenes. We meet once a month, but without you heading this meeting, Councilman, and everybody doing all the work that they do every single day, and Kathy, she does a ton of work.
She does a ton of work.
I just want to say thank you to everybody, because even if I'm not on this meeting 5 years from now, the work that everybody here is doing is huge, and it's really, really important to the city of Rochester.
I second that, Captain Murrah, and that's what one of the things that I really, really wanted to do when I came here was to make sure that we were working collectively together and bridging all of this information and these partners that are doing extraordinary work and lifting all of the work up and working together. So I agree with you, and it just goes to show we're stronger together than we are apart. And so I appreciate everyone on here, and we as council now that this coalition work has transitioned from just it being kind of just myself, if you will, to being the whole 9 council members adopting this work. And I'll share it, and I get in my chair update, I'll share with you some of the developments that are coming as a regard of that. And I'm very excited about the future of the coalition, because for the first time, not only are we supported by all 8 other members and all 9 members of City Council, adopted and falling under the umbrella of the Public Safety Committee, which I'm chairing, and have the Vice President and the chair, the President of the City Council and Vice President of City Council, both as coalition. They actually are chairpersons of some of our committees here, and we have gotten some funding to do some things that we want to do as well. And that's the first time in the history of the coalition that we've had all of those pieces. And so we're very excited about how additional work that we can do this year. Additional questions for Captain Mura? Yeah, Lou.
Captain Louis Fonte, just want to say thank you for all your work, because we did kind of blindside you with all the questions and requests. But as a member of the advocacy committee, is there something, I know that the gift funding comes to the county, if I'm not wrong? Am I right with that, Willie? The gift funding comes directly from the state or from the county?
I have to apologize. I can't quite hear you. I think you're asking if the give funds come from the state or the county.
Correct.
They're coming from the state. They're state
Okay.
funds.
So, I'm wondering, even though council does their request for this funding, if the advocacy committee could do a separate request, you know, as a community, for more funding, for more gift funding, or more, or we call it something different
Sure.
for the same thing, is that something that we should talk about at the advocacy committee?
Yeah, it's anything can be on the table, Louis. What I will say is, what I do know, just as a fact, that I do not to say that we can't ask for it more, but I believe that the mayor said in this committee, Public Safety Committee meeting, that this year Rochester received more funding, gift funding, than any other municipality, in my understanding, in the state, if I'm not mistaken. And so, not to say that we can't ask for, we can't always ask for more. I'm not trying not to be proactive, but at the same time, I will say that we have gotten a substantial amount that we historically haven't gotten in the past. But we can always, of course, we don't want to do is see that number going down. So we can definitely advocate for more. Rachel, yes. I see your hand.
Yeah, sorry, and I would just say that not only have we received more money, but we've received it in different capacities, right? So Gives partner is Snug. Snug has historically not necessarily received the same ability with certain things. And so Governor Hochul actually put an extra $500,000 in that now goes to Rochester Regional, so that the individuals that are shot in that area, I know it's not a trauma 1 area, but they actually put behavioral socialist workers in there, social workers, part-time, hopefully eventually fall around the clock. But so it's not only that we're just receiving more funding from Give, we're also receiving it in different ways. So I think that's super exciting too.
Good stuff. Okay, we're gonna move along because we want to give our committees opportunities to report out as well. A lot of work that some of our committees have been doing, and we want to report that out. So we're gonna go to Aaliyah for Crisis Intervention Services.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Aaliyah Hinton Williams. I'm with the Crisis Intervention Services Unit with the City of Rochester, and I'll be reporting out on the teams from Crisis Services. Just in terms of our data for the month of June, the homicide response team responded to the 2 homicides that occurred on last month. We assisted those families, and we were able to connect them to funding to help pay for service arrangements, as well as counseling and other support services. The Person in Crisis PIC team responded to 681 calls last month. And the Community Support Counseling team responded to over 200 calls last month. We're also still continuing our homeless outreach project. We are doing that bi-weekly now for the summer months, and we've had over 300 points of contact with that effort. So we're quite busy with the unit, getting a lot of things done. We've also been participating in the Daniel Prue Committee research project that's been going on. They're wrapping that up, hoping to have something to present in September. And that's what Crisis Services has been doing over the past month.
Okay, wonderful. Does anybody have any questions for Crisis Intervention Services? for Miss Aaliyah. Any questions there?
Councilman,
Yes?
I was wondering if I could ask one quick question, Aaliyah. Aaliyah, are you tracking any crisis intervention incidents that involve threats made with guns?
It's possible. It depends if a person is in a crisis related to such a crime and they call the police and they have a report that is taken. That report would likely come to our unit because we do serve any victims of crime in the community.
So I had a quick question, because New York State does have a law, and Captain Mura and I'm sure the ATF agent could speak to the law far better than I can. But we do have a law where in incidents where guns are involved in, for example, domestic violence incidents, I'm wondering, are we tracking those incidents? How are we tracking the follow-up to those incidents? How is the DA's office working in partnership with you, Ms. Aaliyah, to ensure that we have follow-up going on concerning incidents where there were reports made and there are guns present, and we're getting those guns, according to New York State law, using our extreme risk protection order laws to remove those firearms where there is a risk of harm to someone in the home or to the person themselves who has access to that firearm. So I'm just wondering about all that in conjunction with that nice person from the DA's office that's here, as well as the police department. How are we coordinating all the work Miss Aaliyah is doing, and how much of that involves threats involving guns and follow-up to ensure that we're removing guns where we need to?
Well, I can give you 2 quick points. The first point is that, of course, we have our own internal data tracking system, so we do track all of our data. The second piece is that we are partners with Willow's Family Justice Center, and the district attorney's office is also a partner in that effort. So if it is pertaining to a domestic violence incident, those victims, that data is being tracked and those victims are receiving services from a number of partners.
And then are we making sure that whoever made that threat is being followed up on concerning their access to a firearm? So I'm thinking of it from both perspectives, that the victim is getting services, but also is being protected using our great New York State extreme risk protection order laws. And I'm just wondering if we're tracking this, and how is it being tracked and followed up on?
Perhaps Mr. Freeman could add something to that part.
Sure. Before I joined the non-fatal shooting unit last year, I was part of the Major Felony Bureau with the District Attorney's Office. I did handle one of the very first extreme risk protection order gun cases. It actually originated out of the Greece Police Department, but it was a complaint that was initially filed by the Greece Police Department with one of the state Supreme Court justices here, who granted it. The firearm was seized, the individual was arrested. That was not a case involving domestic violence. If I recall correctly, I believe it was a neighbor dispute. So they were certainly known to each other, but they weren't intimately connected. Unfortunately, since I've joined the non-fatal shooting unit, I deal now with just the strictly to bullet to body cases. So I have not dealt with that since. Majority of the cases that we have are not domestic violence cases. However, I do have a recent case. There was a shooting on Grand Avenue that happened, I believe it was early June or May, in which that was a domestic violence related shooting in which the individual was accused of shooting the mother of his children. In that case, I can tell you that the Rochester Police Department did execute a search warrant at the home in common that was shared with the 2 infant children, the mother of the children who was shot, as well as the suspect. Unfortunately, the firearm was not recovered. It's believed that there was a break in the gap between when the shooting occurred, which happened not at home, and then ultimately the execution of the search warrant hours later. That firearm was not recovered, but I can tell you that that individual was arrested. He has since been indicted for assault charges, criminal possession of a weapon charges, endangering the welfare of a child charges, criminal contempt of court charges because there was an order of protection involved. So I can tell you that the non-fatal shooting team considers all types of available charges, and in a domestic violence situation such as that, we will not just focus on weapons and assault charges or attempted murder charges. We will use every available statute available to us under the penal law.
So I was wondering, Councilman, if in the future, maybe someone could present to us, if we have time in the future, about when Miss Aaliyah is intervening on behalf of a family or an individual in crisis, where there are guns involved in those incidents, I'm wondering what's the process? What's the process on the RPD end for obtaining investigatory information that would be important to follow up on? And how is it being followed up on?
So that's a good point. I think the eradication committee, that sounds like something that between the education and eradication committee, we can start discussing in our next leadership meeting that we have. We'll discuss maybe some potential, you know, the city council, we have work sessions that we have. Maybe we can start incorporating some work sessions with the coalition, right? That we can do throughout the year, where we can bring in, instead of having a update from the various committees and from our partners, maybe we can just pick certain topics that we have 30, 20, 30, 35 minutes, and then another 20 minutes of Q&A in regards to those topics, right? And we can start kind of peeling away at those topics to get more understanding, and also to be more of an educational tool for the overall community. Because I would do those sessions hybridly, just like we do these meetings. I would stream those on YouTube as well and make them interactive, so they're with the coalition and anyone who may be watching via YouTube. If you go to our YouTube page, most of our meetings, if not all of our meetings, including our public meetings that we've had with our truth behind gun trace data or crime guns, when we went out and did those sessions were hybrid, and they were also streamed on the city council YouTube. All of our meetings that we've held, with the exception of our leadership meetings, have all been transparent and streamed on the city council YouTube page. And if you go back, many of you, and check out, the views, they're highly watched meetings. All of our meetings are watched and people share. So we can do that in the future, Kathy. It'll be in our minutes, and something that we'll discuss later as to we meet once a month, but maybe we can start quarterly, just like we did with the truth behind crime guns. We went out and we had these educational meetings and it was I got a lot of people, including the media, who was very intrigued and informed by the information that we were putting out, the one pager that we put out about crime guns. And so we can do other topics like that as well, too, because one of my biggest things too about this work is I really believe that the more we educate the community around this work, that it also helps too when it comes to prevention, right? So I appreciate the question, and we will definitely follow up with that. I thank Ms. Aaliyah for your presentation, and we're going to move on to some committee reports. I know we don't have media here. We don't have, we have members of the advocacy committee. We're going to get to some of that in a minute. I think Kathy is co-chairing on that. I'm going to ask Septimus just to give us an update, because I don't see Ruth. Ruth's out sick. I'm sorry. So let's keep her in our prayers. Septimus, to just kind of give us an update. We did just postpone. We're having a meeting this week But Septimus, if you want to kind of just give everyone an update on where we are with the youth conference. I don't know if he's there, but I'll chime in. So the youth conference, we have everything in place. We're going to do it in July 6th. We decided to postpone that to when school is back in session. We think we'll get more youth participation when school is in session. So we're going to push that to the fall. We're meeting this week to come up with a date. Everything is in place as far as all the framework of the meeting. We have the program, we know what the venue, we have the funding, everything is all in place. We just have to put a few more pieces in place and pick a new date for sometime in the fall, and then because we didn't really have a lot of time to promote. It came up kind of quick. So we want to have a lot more time to promote because, of course, we want as much youth participation as possible. So we'll get back to you guys with the new date of the fall Youth in Crisis conference that we're going to be having at the Rochester Riverside Convention Center. So, but everything was coming together pretty good. We got, a lot of great people involved, and we're looking forward to for that happening this coming fall. I want to, and Ruth and Septimus were doing an awesome job, and the rest of the youth committee are putting that together. So next time as we build it out, it should be even more easier because we figured out a lot of the nuances around it. Okay. No media, the advocacy committee. I wanted Kathy to just talk about some of the work that we're doing. We have quite a bit. We currently have a memorial resolution that is currently being circulated with all of the council members currently right now. I wanted Kathy to speak to some of the resolutions and or some of the work that we're currently drafting for ordinances for the city of Rochester that is coming directly out of our solution action plan. And I want to be very intentional about.
So there's one resolution calling for a repeal to the T-Hart Amendment. The agent from ATF, I don't know if he's permitted to speak about this actually. So
I think you froze up, Kathy. Yeah, she's out kind of in the area where she had some issues with the weather. Is everyone else hearing me okay though? Just not hearing her, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So let me just switch to give me 1 second, guys. All right. So basically what she was talking about, and I'll allow Sean, I don't know if is she back? Kathy?
She's muted.
You're muted, Kathy.
sorry, my connection went dead. So
I know,
just
so
very
let
quick,
me, can you hear me? Kathy,
Yes.
stop sharing your video and just use your audio. That helps sometimes.
okay, so
Turn
turn my
your
video on.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
And just
So
go
in a
ahead.
nutshell, we're looking at several resolutions and ordinances. The first one involves the T-Hart Amendment. The T-Hart Amendment was an amendment that was enacted back in, I think it was 2005 maybe. And basically it was a gift to the gun lobby for friends of I think he was a senator, I'm not sure. He may have been a House member in Washington. His name was Todd T-Hart. And he did tell the media when he passed this amendment that it was a gift, it was something for his gun lobby friends. And basically it slashed the budget of the ATF. So they didn't have as much money that they needed to get agents out to conduct the oversight, enforcement, and accountability inspections on gun dealers that they needed to do. They didn't have the resources for that. It reduced the number of times that a gun dealer had to submit reports to the ATF. This is important because it's the only means that the ATF has in keeping track of what the gun dealer says is on the shelf. is through their reports. And what the Tiahrt Amendment did is it cut back the obligation of the dealer to submit these reports on a quarterly basis. And there were many other measures that were enacted through the Tiahrt Amendment. But what you need to know, what's important, is that it basically slashed ATF's ability to have very strong oversight, enforcement, and accountability measures on gun dealers. So it kind of handcuffed the ATF in fulfilling their mission and their duties as initially prescribed prior to the Tiahrt Amendment. So the ordinance or the resolution that Councilman Lightfoot and President Melendez worked on calls for a repeal of the Tiahrt Amendment. The second thing, Councilman Lightfoot and President Melendez have also been very actively involved in working on the development of a call for a gun trace report to be done annually by RPD in conjunction with experts who have familiarity with conducting gun trace report data, collecting that data, analyzing that data, and issuing a report on that data. And then the third thing has to do with procurement. So we're all taxpayers. Our money goes towards paying for those contracts that are awarded by our government on our behalf to entities that provide services and equipment and firearms and ammunition to our law enforcement agencies. And so Councilman Lightfoot and President Melendez through the City Council are looking at developing a procurement process that would include analysis of the applicants applying for the procurement contract to fulfill certain requirements as issued by the City Council as a means of acting in good faith in using the public's money to award contracts to those gun dealers or gun manufacturing industries with whom the government has these contracts, to award them to those individuals who are in the best standard with the ATF. And by that, I mean they don't have multiple infractions that they've committed. They are seen as very reputable, good businesses, and they pass their inspections without any problems being issued or being found or discovered by ATF. And those problems can range anywhere from guns missing on the shelf that are supposed to be there to records being faulty or not, or guns being sold that did not include a background check. So the procurement process that Councilman Lightfoot and President Melendez are looking at would consider what is the standing of the gun dealer that we award these contracts to. This is the taxpayers' money, and it needs to be spent wisely and responsibly. And we don't want to award those contracts to individuals who are not in compliance with ATF standards.
All right, Kathy, thank you for sharing that. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of some of the, because once again, really, we are lawmakers, right? So at the end of the day, we are responsible for, making policy, practices, and procedures and laws. And so at the end of the day, our main goal here for council is to do what kind of ordinances and policies can we actually implement and put in place. So we've actually been doing, and Kathy's been doing a lot of the work behind the scenes, as Captain Murrah says, like many of you do, you work in your individual spaces. Kathy really works in this space. And so we've been working very hard collectively with the advocacy, excuse me, to make sure that we're doing whatever policies that the city government ordinances that we can put in place to help with this work. And then whatever we can't do, that's like the memorial resolution that we have, that we don't have any say in the federal government. However, we can do memorializing resolutions to say and advocate for them to do some of the work that they can do in their spaces. And we're starting with the TR amendment because we believe that it needs to be repealed. And we're going to continue to advocate for that to be repealed. And matter of fact, we heard earlier about Mr. Saunders and various others going to DC. Maybe that's something that we want to consider at some point. Not only do we advocate on a state level, but we may want to, when we're attending these types of places, we can go and advocate for these types of things as well at the Capitol. You know what I mean? To show force around. I'm sure we're not the only community that has this same feeling. So those are just some of a little bit of the work that we're doing. The memorial resolution for the TR, repealing the TR, that's circulating as we speak with City Council. That's going to be done this month. The other two the procurement piece and the biannual trace report piece, we hope to have done within the next 90 days through City Council to have those implemented and passed, hopefully, prayerfully. And then we're going to continue. By then, hopefully, we can have also within the next 90 days or so, we'll have an update to this community or to this group and to the community of where we are in regards to the solution action plan. We said this was not going to be a plan that was just going to sit on someone's desk, but we have implemented a lot of stuff. And some of the stuff that we haven't done, some of our partners, some of the work that, you know, Mr. Saunders and Rhonda and various others, the ADA and various others are doing, you're working in this space and you're doing some of this work. And so we will make sure that we highlight that and say, hey, this is happening, these things are happening, but this is where it's happening, how it's happening, and it's all good. I'm going to give, Mr. Krumholz, do you want to speak to any of the information? Did you come looking to give us an update or not? You don't have to. I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just giving you an opportunity.
No, no updates. I mean, I definitely support moving forward with trying to get that reversed, because quite honestly, that'll make our regulatory side, it will make things easier for them. So I appreciate your efforts on it.
We would draw people's attention to the information that was sent to DASI in regards to what ATF sent over as far as FFL, burglaries, robberies, larcenies, 2017 to 2021 report. Some very, very interesting information on that report that I would offer folks to analyze and take a look at. When you look at especially crime guns recovered and traced, since this information we're talking about is data being shared, and this is what they can share on this report. And you can look at the Rochester data in that when you get an opportunity to do that. All right, so we're going to move right along here. Do we have any reports from the resource committee? If not, just say no if anyone's here from the resource committee.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
So the resources committee has undertaken the task of creating a resource guide. That guide will encompass the 4 key zip code areas of
Yes.
11, 05, 08, 13, and 21. So it really will be a cross-section of some of the key areas in the city. And we hope that that guide will provide some really important resources that folks will be able to access that they may not be aware of, or they may not have information on, or most importantly, may not know how to navigate so that they can access those resources. So we're going to be working on that, and we hope to have that done by the end of September at the latest.
Yes, this is going to be, and folks, if you were watching the budget process, you can see where I was on the budget. I took a step in being really taking a move to really highlight the fact that I'm going to be intentional to push back in regards to those zip codes that have been where majority of the crime is, where the majority of the poverty is, and I'm just going to be that fly in the ointment, if you will, to just constantly be pushing for us to be aligning more of the work that we do. Not that we're not doing good work, not that we're not doing good things, but there's always room for improvement. And I just want to be the voice of those communities that just feel like they're not getting the attention. And I'm telling you, we have to be intentional about aligning what we do, just like we're aligning things to the 2034 plan. We're aligning things to certain strategic initiatives. We have to align these zip codes that we've known historically over decades. I'm born and raised in Rochester. I've been hearing about this crescent my entire life. And we have to be intentional about work that we're doing and aligning the resources to those neighborhoods. And so I'm just one that's going to be a stickler about that, you know, and I appreciate that, Aaliyah, for you taking that, you and your resource group taking that on. That's going to be tremendous, especially as we share that with other organizations and or our clergy and our faith-based communities who really interact with a lot of these individuals in these communities, and they don't know the resources. They don't know how to connect them to resources. And I think every barbershop, every salon, every faith organization should be small incubators of community connectors to connecting people, because they're the ones most interacting with these individuals on a day-to-day basis. And we need to equip them with the information to be little small informational incubators. I was down Lowell Avenue today. I counted at least 8 women that were out there, you know, I'm sure doing what they do. And I counted at least 10 churches, right, on Lowell Avenue. And so how many of those churches are aware of information to help those women, to help those individuals? And same thing with Jefferson, Clinton, and all those zip codes that we're referring to. So I'm very excited about that. And any help that you need, I know that you did reach out to us for data, or any information or any help that any of the partners could on this call could assist in our resource committee in helping to put that together and providing information. Ms. Aaliyah, if there's things that you need or that could be helpful, if you would send that to Dassy can send it out to the group. Maybe some of our partners that are even with us may have some of that information, may be able to help you and assist you. If you want to join the resource committee, anyone on this call, please reach out to Ms. Aaliyah or Dassy can connect with Leah, Ms. Williams Hinton directly. And we want to help put this together and take some of that load off of her if we can. Okay, we want.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, is anybody here from Eradication? Education.
Education, no updates at this time. We were also working on a victims' rights forum, and I'm going to send it over to Aaliyah right now for us to collaborate a little more on.
Thank you, Tenio. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. All right, I'm going to be very brief with my update, and then we'll get ready to close out here, unless anyone has any questions before we close out. We are you've heard of some of the work that we're doing on the council. You heard about pushing the youth conference up to the fall. We've relaunched the Think About It campaign. A shot from a gun can't be undone. All right, so you've seen many of the posters. You should see billboards. They're on Lowell Avenue. They're on Joseph Avenue. They're on West Avenue. We have some on, there's about 7 different billboards. There's one on the inner loop going west towards or east on the inner loop. And so The Shot from a Gun Can't Be Undone, the Think About It campaign. There's billboards, there's radio ads that are being ran on a couple of the radio stations, PSAs. We have handouts, flyers, posters that are going to be put out all over the community. We've done this before in 2018, 2019. We did the Think About It campaign. That's when we first launched it. This is the relaunch of the Think About It campaign. We're asking all of our members, if you want to be a part of this, you're going to be invited to a presser on the corner of Ward and Joseph Avenue this coming Wednesday at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. we would be doing a press conference in front of one of the billboards. This is the relaunch of the Think About It campaign. A shot from a gun can't be undone, okay? And we'll be telling the community about all of the PSA resources that will be provided, whether they're on the radio, the handouts that we'll be handing out in all of our art centers, libraries, etc. We'll make sure that if you want handouts for your individual organizations and places that you are frequently, reach out to us with DASI and we'll make sure to get you that material. We'll have some of them at the event, flyers, posters, etc. Also, we are going to have our t-shirts will be there as well. We want everyone to wear a Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition t-shirt. We have plenty. We'll make sure that those are there available for you on that day. But once again, that's going to be this coming Wednesday, which is the 17th at 2 p.m. on the corner of Joseph and Ward Street, right there where the billboard is. DASI will send out a reminder probably that morning. All are welcome to come. And we look forward to also for everyone to send any, as you see, Carlos put resource information to Aaliyah. That would be helpful. Appreciate that. Also, any events that you guys are having, we're asking you please send those over to DASI as well. We're trying to keep somewhat of a calendar, if you will, the city has done a new website. So we're still working through some of the kinks of that. But we are trying to make sure that we're not overlapping each other with events. We really want to, like this year, there was a anti-violent event and then there was a square fair at the same time. It was on the same day. We're trying to prevent that from happening, you know, especially those of us that these are city sponsored or city ran type, you know, here, you know, Vice President Harris is on the Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition, and she was also coordinating the Square Fair. So that's something that could have been prevented. So we want to make sure that we're supporting each other in the work that we're doing. So if you send us over your events, then we can send that out to the collective, and we hope to be able to have some kind of running calendar so for the year, especially the summer when most of these events are happening, so that we can be supportive of each other in our events. And we don't have the same two events from our own partners. Now, with people that we don't know, of course, you know, we can't control that, but our partners, we should be more proactive to, you know, hopefully be informative so that doesn't happen. So we're encouraging that. If you would, please, sir, please, ma'am, if you would just send us your events, and then we'll send them out to everybody so everybody kind of knows what everyone's doing and we can all support each other in our endeavors, okay? So that we can show as much unity as possible, all right? That's pretty much all I have for today. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, well, I hope to see all of you or those of you who can and will. Please look for the information that we're sending out. We're really trying to keep you as informed as we possibly can. Look for the ordinances that we have coming out. Hope to see you Wednesday at the presser on Joseph and Ward. And, you know, please send us those events so that we can tally those up and get everyone, and any resource information that you may have, send that over to Aaliyah as she's working on that work. And we'll just keep working and keep hope alive and keep the faith, okay? All right, so I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm sorry for going over 10 minutes over my time. I apologize for that. But may God bless you. May God keep you. Of course, it's always our prayer. And until we see you again, God bless you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
So we get a reminder for Wednesday?
Mhm.
Okay,
I'll probably send an email on Tuesday and then the morning of the Wednesday as well.
okay, good.
Mhm.